So at the time of the offense, you were a basketball coach?
Basketball and baseball, correct.
Okay.
Mr. Benes, how many victims did you have in total?
There were 8 total victims in this case.
Yeah. I mean, what really struck me was the amount, the work that you had to put into committing your offenses. It was very calculated, you know. The town must have been outraged that, we have a coach, you let this person into our children's lives.
Yes, the town must have been outraged. The parents must have been outraged. But I wonder how outraged they're going to be when they find out that he's up for parole less than 2 years after getting locked up for doing this. I'll unpack it with the details at the end.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Zachary Mandoo, number 441916. He is serving a sentence of 10 years executed, suspended after 4 years jail with 10 years probation for 2 counts of risk of injury to a minor.
I'm sorry, what was the sentence? I'm sorry.
10 years executed, suspended after 4 years. 10 years. 10 years
Okay,
probation.
thank you.
For 2 counts of risk of injury to a minor, 2 counts of enticing a minor by a computer, and 2 counts of misrepresentation of age to entice a minor. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of August 18th, 2024. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the short-term sex treatment program and voice sits. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the moderate to high range. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
To members of the Board of Pardons and Parole, first off, I want to thank you for taking the time to review and consider my case. I know the daily job and task you face is not an easy task. I would like to start by apologizing to my victims' families, their friends, my family, friends, and the community for my actions. Not a day has gone by without me dwelling upon those actions and feeling an immense amount of remorse and guilt. I take full responsibility and accountability for my behavior. I feel as though I deserve this opportunity for parole and to be reintegrated back into society, because since I've been incarcerated, I've completed all my offender accountability plan requirements, including short track problem sexual behavior, voices for victim impact, good intentions, bad choices, as well as participating in Protestant Alpha Bible study and being on the wait list for UConn's People Empowering People program, as well as Asnatuck College Pell program. In addition to the above programs, I have successfully held a tierman job while living in P unit at McDougal Correctional until I received a level reduction on March 11th when I was transferred to Osborne Correctional and got a kitchen job working on the dinner line, and was promoted a month later to a second shift cook and received a good work report from my direct supervisor. Throughout my time incarcerated, I have volunteered to help students enrolled in the GED program finish schoolwork, study, and prep for final GED testing. With the time I have had not dedicated to work, programs, or helping others, while at Brooklyn Correctional as well as Osborne Correctional, I have joined weight teams for the gym and worked on my fitness regularly, and as a result have lost a significant amount of weight. I am also currently a member of my unit's intramural softball team. I have stayed ticket-free over the course of the last 21 months, but most importantly, I feel I have learned invaluable lessons about myself, my crimes, my impact on my victims, and my impact on those around me. I learned that life on this narrow, self-serving path I was on leads to an endless cycle of dissatisfaction, greed, addiction, and trauma. Through over 3 years of problem sexual behavior therapy in the community and continued short-track correctional programming, I'm able to clearly identify my internal and external risk factors. I have spoken at length in my groups in here, as well as private therapy in the community, about prior sexual and childhood trauma that played a role in my offending. I'm able to identify my cognitive distortions and separate what may be perception versus reality, as well as self-recognition of my own offense chain and successful ways to manage these behaviors to live an offense-free lifestyle upon integration back into society. These last 21 months have been very challenging. From coping with the damage that I have caused in my community, the damage I have caused to my victims and their families, and to my family and friends as well. I have learned there is a favorable aspect of regret, and that is it can inspire you to look at your past and help guide you in your present. Although I cannot change my past events or my past behaviors, I can take all the tools that I have learned during this time incarcerated to reframe my life and my actions so that I can protect myself and others in the future. I sit before you all today a better person, a changed person than when I walked into the Connecticut Correctional System 21 months ago. If I am fortunate enough to be granted this opportunity for parole, I have an immediate opportunity for employment through the state of Connecticut as a caregiver for my grandmother, as well as other part-time opportunities. I have a great home to go to with an endless amount of unwavering support of friends and family and loved ones, a valid driver's license, a Connecticut registered and insured vehicle to get to and from parole appointments, programs, groups, therapy, and work. I have a CATSO certified therapist that specializes in problem sexual behavior and trauma that I have been working with since 2020, and countless family and friends that are aware of my crimes and that I know I can reach out to for support at any time throughout my continued recovery process and reintegration into being a successful, productive, healthy member of the community and society. As I conclude, I would like to reiterate that I take full responsibility and accountability for my behavior and actions, and not a day has passed during my time incarcerated that I have not solemnly reflected on the effect my choices have had on my victims, their families, their friends, my family, my friends, and loved ones. I am asking this board to please consider the amount of work that I have put in pre-conviction and post with the 5 years of ongoing problem sexual behavior in the community and incarcerated, victim impact programs, work ethic, good behavior, and being a positive, productive member in my current incarcerated community. I hope this board can see the positive reentry plan in place, the village of endless support, and will please grant me this opportunity for a second chance to reintegrate back into society, to make amends, to be productive, to be with loved ones, to continue to work on myself, and to reciprocate the endless love and support to those that have supported me on this recovery journey, to rehabilitate myself to being the best possible version of myself for my family, friends, and the community that I can be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bernays. That was a good statement you put together for us, and you offered us a lot of information. So we appreciate that. We have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll deliberate and give you our decision here today. We'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Chance.
So again, thank you for that opening statement, Mr. Benares. I heard everything that you say, and I appreciate that. I think I just have maybe two questions. You talked about the fact that you have been able to identify your internal and external factors. Can you share maybe one or two of each for me so that I can have a little better understanding of what you're referring to?
Absolutely. I think internally, when I was going through a lot of change in terms of my sexuality, and I think I was thinking very chaotically at the time. I think I was very unhappy with myself. And when I think I have a lot of things going on, I need to seek out, I've learned that I need to seek out people that I can talk to. So my support network, my therapist, those are all people that I currently have in place. I think I did not have it in place previously. So that was a major piece that I needed to put in place to figure out kind of what was going on with me. My external risk factors are, I think, people that I associate with. I think I have a lot of room for empathy and a lot of room wanting to have and be liked by a lot of people. And I think that has not always served me well. And I think throughout this process, I've learned to keep my circle smaller, and more people are not always necessarily better. And I've learned that throughout this process, as I've lost many friends and family due to the crimes and the impact the impact on my crimes that I've had on others.
Yes, I thought you did a pretty good job with that. So at the time of the offense, you were a basketball coach?
Basketball and baseball, correct.
Okay. And so now that this has happened, what do you think is going to take the place of that for you?
I'm involved with a traveling men's adult golf league that plays every Saturday. I'm also a member of a disc golf league as well. And I have a couple of friends that I know are wanting to walk the dog and do many other various tasks that I know. And I'm hopefully looking forward to spending some time with my grandmother and definitely my brother and mom and close family and friends.
Can you tell me a little bit about that traveling golf league?
Yeah, so it's a league that was established, I believe, in the 1950s, and I've been involved with it for several years. They play at different golf courses throughout. They play about 16 tournaments throughout the year, from about May to September, October, and it's every Saturday. And they play at various courses throughout the state of Connecticut, and it's a tournament pretty much every Saturday based off of golf handicap index, and I've been a part of that for several years.
And they're aware of your current charges
They
and
are aware.
offenses?
Yes, they are.
Okay. What was the other activity?
Oh,
Okay.
disc golf, which is like the same thing except for with frisbees.
Oh, frisbee tournament.
It's like frisbee golf, yeah.
And do any of these programs involve young people?
They do not. No,
Strictly adults?
strictly adults. Yes.
Okay. And how is this going to affect? Because you said for a job, you're going to be your grandmother's caretaker.
Yes, so my plan, my mom and I have worked out a schedule that I'll be gone for maybe a few hours, 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday, and the rest of the time I'll be there to take care of my grandmother for whatever she needs.
And you have the training to do that? That would be a job for you?
I'm first aid and CPR certified, so yes, I think I have the equipped training to take care of her.
So you're going to get paid for that?
Yes, through the state of Connecticut, yes.
Just so that you know, you receive a letter of support from a person by the name of Kathleen.
Okay, yes, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a bunch of them, yeah.
I beg your pardon?
We got a bunch of support letters.
Right. Three, but I'm sure you know. So, you also talked about possible employment with your friend's cleaning business. Is that still something that you're going to do?
That's a possibility. I would like to, before I came to prison, I was also I had just on my own, I was doing some part-time landscaping by myself. And that's something I would perhaps like to pursue as well.
And you know that you will, I mean, you know, there might be a few restrictions and that you're going to have to, you know, continue to do treatment in the community. And I heard you say that you have a CATSO program in place, and that's all been established already.
Yes, yep, which is in my PSI report, and as well as the report from the end of my short track problem sexual behavior therapy treatment that they contacted my therapist at Northeast Clinical Specialist, and she's still willing to continue to see me upon a release back into the community.
Okay, well, don't have any further questions for you, but thank you for sharing today.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Chance. Thank you. Ms. Page?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Vienna, I just have a few follow-up questions. When you were interviewed by the Connections for your risk to recidivate with a new sexual conviction, you said when they asked you about your need for treatment, you told them that you didn't need to because you already did it. And now you're saying that you are going to continue it when you're out in the community because you already established that the therapist is willing to see you.
Yes, so before I came in, it's for 3 years since 2020, we were working on a program workbook. It's called the Road to Freedom, which is the same workbook that we use here for the facility, the correctional facility. And I have spoken to Sarah on the outside, well, not on the outside, but I've had people contact Sarah directly to say that she's willing to continue working with me when I get out.
So do you think that you need the treatment though?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. And the other thing was that the therapist or the evaluator, she was a therapist, sorry, wrote in your your evaluation that they had concerns because you were not able to demonstrate the capacity for emotional intimacy. Do you want to speak to that?
I don't necessarily agree with that. Prior to coming in, I had a significant other long-term relationship that I was in for many years. We were in a relationship for roughly about 3 years prior to coming in, and the impact of my crime certainly impacted the relationship. Absolutely.
Right.
But there was an immense amount of emotional intimacy, excuse me, in the relationship. So I don't know that.
It was a loving relationship. You were in love and
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
because I thought that it was a contradiction because I also read that you said that because you were involved with someone and that person was making you feel good in that relationship, that you really were able to separate yourself from what it was that you were doing because that was a distraction. So I thought that was good that you were able to identify that. And now these are honestly just curiosity questions for me. And I know that we are not supposed to go down that path, but we'll go down anyway. You were working for the town. Were you receiving a paycheck through the town for coaching?
I was not. My coaching was volunteer.
Okay. Do you know if the victims in this case ever submitted a complaint towards the town to be compensated for this whole ordeal?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. And I just have one more question. It comes back to me. I'll to ask you, but I don't want to. But thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Benes, how many victims did you have in total?
There were 8 total victims in this case.
Yeah. I mean, what really struck me was the amount, the work that you had put into committing your offenses. It was very calculated, that's concerning. I'm happy to see that you're so invested in your treatment because it's very important. And thankfully, no one was really hurt here, but you violated the trust. So there's emotional and psychological pain of so many people, and for parents to have to then worry about everybody that their children are talking to, or every time they get on a computer, that's huge because it's unavoidable. In today's day and age, these types of interactions are unavoidable for kids. So I hope that you truly do accept the gravity of this situation and just how many people you affected. The town must have been outraged that, we have a coach, you let this person into our children's lives. So it does appear that you've gained a lot from this incarceration, from the treatment programs that you've participated in. And it sounds like you're very open and honest with
Right.
people in your life with it, which is also half the battle. It's not an easy thing to do. I understand that, but it's an important thing to do. People need to know where you are. You know, you're aware that there's protective orders for all of these people, so you have to be very careful about interactions and the space that you're in. You know, I can't imagine it's going to be easy for you going back out into the community, given was a very public thing. So I hope you're mentally preparing yourself for that as well. I guess I don't really have any additional questions. Give us some. What did you want to say?
That was my question, like, just going right back to the same town. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be, everyone already is going to know what you did. I'm just curious how you deal with that.
Yeah, I'm up to all of those points. I'm extremely, number one, yes, I feel, as I stated in my letter earlier, just an immense amount of guilt and remorse for the vast majority of people that were affected, not only the victims and their families and friends, but, you know, just generally people in the community and my family and friends as well. I think, fortunately, to your question, Ms. Page, a lot of time has passed, and I don't necessarily know that time may heal all wounds, but I think it certainly helps in some instances. I feel fortunate that I've had the opportunity to have so much programming. The programming that I sought on myself in the community, the programming that was allotted to me since my time of incarceration, and the continued programming that I'm going to be able to continue to have through the connections and through my private therapy when I go out to cope with all these things. As you mentioned, I know that it's not going to necessarily be the easiest road. There's going to be a lot of restrictions, but I know that I have a great foundation of family and support through friends and family. And like you said, Ms. Sacanini, about, you know, this is not an easy thing to be public with my family and friends, but since I have been so open and honest with them about it, the people that have really supported me have stuck around. And I know that it's going to make it that much easier to be successful upon reintegration into society.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Give us a few minutes to discuss your case, sir, and we're going to get back to you very shortly with our decision.
Well,
You
Okay,
can stay
thank
and
you.
listen. You can stay.
no,
Oh.
sit down here. I just have one question. How old were you, Mr. Benares?
I was 25 at the time of my offense.
Okay, Ms. Chance.
So I appreciate the opening statement that he had, on which he covered a lot of things. I wanted to specifically know about the internal factors of what was happening with him at the time. And then, you know, the external factors were, you know, people that he was going to face back in the community, the support that he was getting, but also the family and friends of the victims. But he's clearly stated with the support he has that that's going to be good for him. I also wanted to know in terms of what he was going to do for a job besides taking care of his grandmother.
Yeah.
He said he's involved in that traveling golf league. And, more importantly, the Northeast clinical therapist that he's going to seek and the connections program. So I would be willing to grant Bernard's discretionary parole. I think the discretionary parole supervision will be helpful to him before he begins suspending his probation.
Agreed. Ms. Page?
I agree as well. Fair.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. In the matter of Zachary Vinay, submit number 441916, I'll move to grant parole effective August 18th, 2024 with the following conditions. You're to have no contact with any of your victims. Initials JA, DA, AJ, EH, EC, AJ, JJ. You know who they all are, and you'll get it in writing, but no contact at all with them. There's protective orders anyhow. You'll participate in sex offender treatment in the community. You're not to have contact with any minors without your parole officer's permission, and you will have enhanced internet and device monitoring. Is there anything further?
No.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you have any questions, sir? Do you
I
understand?
don't. I do. Thank you.
All right, we wish you the best.
Thank you
Good
very
luck
much.
on yourself.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Moves the hearing.
Thank you.
4419.
They granted. Can you even imagine that they granted? Now I'm going to go through what it is that he did, because by God, they didn't do it at this parole hearing, because it's, you know, it's just children. It's just an entire baseball team. 8 victims. He created fake accounts on social media where he pretended to be a girl their age. He reached out to them. He had them send photos of themselves undressed. He was their coach. He is dangerous. To quote the words from the judge that sentenced him, "You, sir, are truly a predator." Although we know that these judges, we don't know the exact case. It could be, but I would think that the judge could have refused this deal where it was a maximum of 4 years in prison and a minimum of 18 months. I'm not going to call her two-faced. We don't know the situation in this. At least she called him truly a predator. But, you know, we'll go through this in more details. I just need to get some stuff off my chest. And I'm going to do it with a story that came to my mind. My brother has a small, like, little farm thing going on. And he has these little baby goats and goats, adult goats. And where it is, it's a rural area. He has to have dogs, you know, guard dogs that are meant to protect the goats and do the different things that it does. So he had one, a German Shepherd. And the first year, the second year, the German Shepherd's an outstanding dog, doing everything it had to do. But then one day, my brother goes out to the field. They had these, you know, one of the goats gave birth. They had a baby, and the baby goat is laying on the ground dead. How did this happen? Who did it? He checks on his dog, and the dog has blood on its fur. And he found that for some reason, something in that dog made it kill the baby goat. Now, what he had to do, he had no choice, was to get rid of the dog. I'm not saying that he killed it. I'm not saying you know, put it up. He had to take it somewhere, put it up for adoption, but the dog can no longer be there, because he said that the moment the dog has the taste for blood, you can't trust it again. You don't know if it will do it again. That's the saying amongst farmers. I don't know and you know, the kids were in love with the dog. So, well, what if you trained it? What if you took it to what if you did something? And the fact is that you couldn't take the financial chance. You couldn't sleep well at night. You know, this is an investment this is a small business. You have your goat. You can't risk that the dog is going to do it again. And I'm sure that most farmers in this situation would say the same thing. It's just not worth the risk. You get a new dog. And the idea the idea that the system doesn't take the same basic approach, which is, it's just not worth the risk. When it comes to a goat, we make those decisions. But when it comes to our children, he is the literal fox in the hen house, or the dog in the hen house that has a taste for whom it's supposed to be protecting. And it's just common sense. Even their pathetic algorithmic risk score somehow, his static 99 somehow labeled him as a above average risk to reoffend. And yet they grant him on his minimum sentencing time. Not to mention, he's saying he wants to do golf tournaments. Are you kidding me? Are you really telling me there are not going to be underage people at these golf tournaments? Yeah, okay. Okay. Because people don't go to weekend golf tournaments with their kids. Because caddies are never teenagers. Because employees are never teenagers. I call BS. And the idea that the parole board wouldn't do that is insane. And we have to rely on the parole officer to make sure that this doesn't happen. There was nothing there. There was no substance. There was nothing that in deserving that he should get out. 8 children catfished by their coach who positioned himself, who volunteered, who made sure to be in the situation where he would be in a position of trust around children, around his prey, around his desire. This is what he's into. Then he creates social media accounts and talks to them and tries to form relationships and tries to. This is insane. Why would you reward this cockroach with parole? Okay, that's my piece. Thank you, Richard, for the info. October 29th, a former Coventry coach who solicited photographs from juvenile boys was sentenced Friday to 4 years in prison. The sentence was handed down by Vernon Superior Court Judge Kathleen McNamara, who told the former coach Zachary Vinaeus that he had taken advantage of the trust that the families and players had placed him in. Sir, you are truly a predator, she told him. Following his release from prison, Vinaeus will remain on probation for 10 years, during which time he will also have to register as a sex offender. Which, by the way, means that he only has to register for 10 years. You can't make it up. Because obviously everyone knows that after 10 years, all of a sudden your interests, your brain rewires itself. We all know that. I mean, we have PhDs. We all know. We don't have PhDs, but we trust those with the people. We all know that the brain rewires itself. All of a sudden, you are into normal, healthy adult relationships. When he's 33 years old, he'll be completely safe to be a coach again. You change families forever, said the judge. The sentence followed a number of emotional statements from one of the victims and number of family members in which they described how their lives were affected by his actions. One parent described how they met Vinaeus when their children were 8 and 10 years old. And he ultimately became a very close friend. He was the kind of friend that they trusted to spend time with their children one-on-one, the woman said. And how terrifying is that. After Benea's actions were revealed, our lives changed forever. After that day, her children had to think about who they could trust at too young of an age. She said that they had trusted him like family, and it was stripped away in a second. Another woman described her feeling of learning Vanessa's actions as shock, hurt, betrayal, and so very, very angry. And if you're wondering why, well, where were the victim impact statements? Where were they at the parole hearing? If I had to guess, which is just a guess, they weren't notified. That would be my guess. Her family had considered Vanessa a close friend too, to the point that he watched their home while they were away. This is this is not the fox in the penthouse. This is the dog in the penthouse, the dog watching the sheep. This is the one that you thought you could trust, and then you come back and there's blood on his face. A man read a statement written by his son, who wrote that Beneas was like an older brother. He would bring him to sporting events and come over their house on holidays. He was 13 years old when Beneas asked him for the photos of him naked. Afterwards, the prosecutors, Preble said, even she hadn't realized just how close he had been with the boys and their families before the events took place. She said sexual predators are often portrayed as boogeymen, when in reality, as this case shows, they can be the people we know and trust. Preble said the families of the boys he coached gave Vanessa stability and friendship. He took that trust and used it for his own purposes. He had made opportunities to stop, but didn't, she pointed out. Every action he took, he could have decided not to do it. He was arrested in March 2020 after a police investigation revealed that he created fake social media accounts portraying himself as a girl in order to solicit nude photos. Beneas admitted to creating the fake profile when questioned by police on Friday and continued to take responsibility for what he had done. This had undoubtedly been the biggest mistake of my life. It's not a mistake. It's a long, calculated, all-encompassing, living. This is what you were doing for years. Volunteering. You're not even making money. He apologized to the boys and their families, the entire Coventry community. I let them down. But you know, these monsters exist. The evil exists, but it's the system. It's the system that we see over and over and over again that lets us down. This is insane. That he would get out like this is madness. That he only has to register for 10 years is madness. That the victims weren't told. There are 8 victims. That could be 16 parents. You're telling me that not one of them wanted to talk at his parole hearing? I don't buy those odds. And this is why we do this. Some of you can say, no, Mandoo, you do it for whatever reasons that you want to do it for. You do it for money. You do it for whatever. No, this is why. Someone's going to see this. And I hope that someone in this community sees this and they are as outraged as we are. Why were they not notified? Why was he given parole after at a minimum chance when even their pathetic algorithm scores puts him at a high risk? He's not fixed after 2 years. He is only better trained at what to say, to be better manipulator, if that's even possible. He was already an expert manipulator. And his goal is to get paid by the state to take care of his grandmother, to volunteer at frisbee and golf tournaments. He's going right back to where he was, to where he started. This is insane. I brought my kids to first school. They're going to new classes. The 9-year-old, 7-year-old turning 4. And went into one of the classrooms, and the teacher, a male teacher, just gave serious creepy vibes. I mean, every red flag and antenna bumped up on me and my wife. And, you know, talking about it with my wife, I did point something. I said, look, there is a lot of creepy factor there, but the bottom line is that the other teachers we saw who were young, you know, normal looking male teachers, I said we should have the same concern for them as we have for the creepy guy vibe. Maybe even, you might argue, much more fear for the young, good looking, well dressed teachers. And it's scary that we have to live in this reality. You know, I think if you're a teacher, a male teacher teaching kids, 9-year-olds, I mean, you're either really special or you're something wrong with you. I think that's the bottom line. And, you know, you have to teach your kids, you have to talk to your kids, you have to figure out how to get them to live in a world that you have to be. Because that's the reality, and that's a sad reality. But they don't end up in these jobs by chance. They make sure that they end up in these jobs. It is an all-consuming mission. And with that, I'll let you go.